Okay, today we're going to talk about revenge trading. Revenge trading. And I haven't done a video for a while, and it's because I have been fighting with Galt. So, revenge trading coming up. Alright, so you look at this is the 5-minute chart for Galt. You can see, let's look at a daily chart. So, big run up. And this stock, big run up, it's gone parabolic, breakout. I mean, I don't understand how come I can't buy this. Why am I not buying this right here? Volume is there. Volume. Anyway, so I didn't buy it. And instead, I was trying to short up in here in the 8s last week, and I had to cut losses on it numerous times, which turned into revenge trading. Now today had a big red day. I actually caught this. I caught a large percentage of it. The only bad thing about it though is that I didn't have a very big position. So that's very frustrating, because other times when I was cutting losses, waiting for it to roll over, I had giant positions. So the breakout was at 677. And if you watch this, I guess probably the biggest loss that I took on it was, I think I started shorting. All right in here. So you have this panic right here. I start shorting here. Started shorting here, pull back. It ends up ripping through, breaks high a day. I have to cut losses. And then I think I shorted up here higher. Right in here, I think my average is it wasn't that great. I think it was at like 835. I made a little back, but not much, because I held it, and then I got squeezed again, so I had to cut the loss again. And then I re-shorted here in the 8 at an 825 average. I shorted into this bounce right here. And then I thought right here, I actually took half off. It bounced. I re-shorted again. So I had like an 820 average. And then it's holding this $8 level. And I thought that right here, it was going to break down. And whenever I seen it, when it starts making higher lows here, I guess that should have been my signal to get out. But it was under VWAP. It's been going up for multiple consecutive days. I thought that this was the time when it was going to break down. And when it's making higher lows right here, I probably should have got out. But what happened was, as I was sitting on the couch and watching it with just one eye, next thing I know, I see this thing start to take off into the close. By the time I jump out of my seat, off the couch, get over to the computer, I already had orders in to cover into a panic down here, close to low a day at like 775. So I had to cancel those orders, and then by the time I canceled the orders and then put them back in, I should have just hotkeyed it out. I ended up missing my first try to get out, and then I ended up getting out up here in like the 860s, which was super annoying, like 850s, 860s, right in here. I think it was 850, right near IDA. Oh, I think I waited to see if it broke out. Yeah, that's what I did. I waited to see if it broke out cleanly, and it did. I got out in the 860s, And then, so I ended up taking, and I had like 2,000 shares short right there. So from an 820 losing 40 cents, that's a pretty big loss. So, and through all this choppiness, pretty much break even. Maybe I made a little bit there, not much. Then I got squeezed. Then I made a really bad emotional move. I decided to pile in. Now this is where the revenge part comes in. It squeezes up, it pulls back, it bounces. After hours, I don't think I decide to pile in short right here at 870. Wake up the next morning and it starts spiking on me, and that was really uncomfortable. And if I would have just had some patience, and if I would have just slept overnight, I could have maybe shorted into this bounce right here and then held. But instead, I got squeezed and I had a terrible average. And I got squeezed into this little push right here. I had 1,500 shares, and that was very uncomfortable holding through that. Bad risk-reward. Terrible risk-reward holding through that. Because nothing says this has to come back. And then I held through this consolidation for 2 days. When it was putting in the lower highs here, and then I did it again yesterday, I really started to get confident yesterday that this thing was going to break down. Either I thought it might break down yesterday afternoon or today, and today we had a big crash. Now, if you're wondering why I held through this right here, through this part right here, a little spike, well, I did a little bit of fundamental research on the company, and I found out that, okay, so they have a drug. Basically their whole company is reliant on one drug. And this drug, it's for treating cirrhosis of the liver, and it's in phase 2, or just got through phase 2, but they still got to go through phase 3, and that is the hardest part, and that's still like another 2 years away till that gets done. But the thing is this thing is, they only have enough money to last them until the end of 2018. So they only have enough money to get them through this year, but they still need 2 more years to get their drug approved. So, with the big run-up that we have right now, that makes this stock a prime candidate for a toxic financing and dilution. So I thought that there would be a financing coming soon, or another option would be a larger company buying them out. So, one of the two. Now, it was bad risk reward in the moment because this thing could have squeezed even more later this week. Very emotional move to short into this, especially after I took a big loss right there and I was already frustrated. You don't want to trade when you're frustrated. That should be cut losses quickly, number 1 rule. Number 2 rule, do not trade when you're frustrated, because when you're frustrated, your mind's not clear and you make bad decisions. But I told myself that if it busted through this 950 area, during this part right here, after the next day, I was like, if this gets through 950, I'll just cut it and I'll eat the loss. It'll be a huge loss. It'll be fucking super depressing, but I deserve it. So, but thankfully, now let's talk about today, my covers. This is to talk about too little too late and talk about just really fucking up the trade. I finally get the big crash that I've been waiting for, and I traded absolutely terribly. I was so worried about getting even, and you see all these dips that have held. All these dips that have held, I was so worried about the dips holding that whenever it started to crash, and you see right here, when it started to crash, I told you I had an 870 average. I covered most of my shares. I covered all of them except for 250 shares. So I had 1,500 shares. I covered 1,250 shares right in here because I thought this was, see this green candle? I thought that this dip was going to hold. And I still thought it was going to crash for the day. I thought maybe it might bounce up a little bit and I was going to try to reshort for a higher average. But I held 250 shares. I covered the rest, and then look what happens. The only thing that I really did right is that I didn't cover my 250 shares into this panic down. I waited. I should have added here, but I didn't because I didn't know. I mean, this thing, if you look at it every time, I wanted to add, but I was scared. Every time this thing has a crash, the bounce, just like a morning panic. Morning panic, look at this. Comes all the way back and squeezes up. So, I mean, look at this. Pulls back, comes back all the way back and squeezes up. So I made the mistake multiple times getting in this stock too big, I was going with too much size too early right in here and getting squeezed out. Too much size too early. Too much size too early. Too much size too early. So today when the big crash happens, I didn't want to start shorting into these bounces and end up with too much size too early. So I just held my 250 shares and then I finally shorted into this panic right here. Or I mean, I finally covered into this panic. Now, I think there's more downside to this thing, so I waited. I actually shorted some right here into this candle at 790, and I took small size because I thought that this thing could retest the highs of this bounce right in here. So I reshorted some here, and then I put it in an order for 829, and I got a fill. I added somewhere in here. So now I'm sitting with like an 815 average and holding overnight. So an overnight play that I got is TPIX, or no, TPIV. Had a huge crash. This looks like a huge momentum shift to me. This trend, the chart's starting to look broke. So into this bounce, I got short at about 12.15. So, and then you can see that it's starting to break down even more into the close. So, yeah. So, that is going to be that. That's revenge trading at its finest. And I think that when I say revenge trading, what happens is you get emotional. You get in the trade, and you want to make money on it so bad because, you know, you've been frustrated with it. That multiple times I got in too big, too early, with too much size. So I guess at the end of the day, the lesson I'm taking away from this is don't trade while you're frustrated. And do your best not to get in with too much size. You got to respect your risk too. So, because this thing could have really took off. Anyways, overall, on this stock, out of all the trades that I made on it, I'm red on it. I don't know exactly how much. I haven't crunched all the numbers. I made a little back today, but I think last week total I lost total I lost 2K. So that is a pretty shitty week for me, but that's trading. Hopefully I can learn from it and I'll probably make the same mistakes again because I'm 2 years into this and I'm still making some of the same mistakes I did the first 6 months. But I think, but over time you become more aware and you are able to minimize those little by little. It's like whittling away, and it's like almost like a sculptor, you know, sculpting, making a sculpture. You just slowly chip away the pieces until the picture becomes clearer and clearer, and it becomes you know, more of a piece of art. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do with my trading. Anyways, that's it. My rant's over. Kind of long video, but hopefully you guys learn from my mistakes. See you in the chat room. Peace.